Good morning and greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. And if I look a little extra bundly today, it's because the heat is off, unfortunately, in the house. Got somebody coming over to fix it a little bit later today, but until then, I'm going to be bundling up. All right. Hopefully, everybody's having a good morning and a little bit warmer than my current state. But, anyways, let's talk about the Lions. Let's talk about the state of affairs. Let's talk about all the things that happened yesterday. I'm sure we're all less than happy with some of the results yesterday. Before we get into that all, though, if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. If you would take a moment out of your day, go ahead and hit that subscription button. Really do everything you can to help this channel grow, nurture, and, hey, maybe find some other Lions fans who aren't yet aware of it. I think we need about 45 more, something like that, to hit 4,800. So if you could help out with that, I surely would be appreciative. Don't be afraid to hit that like button. And lastly, if you are not aware, besides being a coach and a YouTuber, I am a realtor. Have been for about 4 million years, it seems like. So if you're looking for somebody who's going to work on your behalf, try to help you save on either the purchase of a property or sale of a property, anywhere in the state of Michigan, give me a call, 269-998-2384. Go ahead and reach on out. All right, let's go ahead and get in the comment section because I'm going to suspect we all have a few things to say today. All right, Michael, what do you got? Greetings and salutations. Morning, Duke crew. Man, the Lions offense sure let us down. Terrible third quarter, 5 drives for a total of something like 50 yards. Yeah, the Lions offense, I know it feels like we've been talking about it for a while, but they've become incredibly conservative and predictable. And the Bears started this trend where everybody was jumping routes, playing zone underneath, man over the top, just left and right. You guys have heard me say it 1,000 times. So what do they do from here? The fortunate thing is the Bears have a very good defense and not everybody else has one like them. That being said, though, you look at our remaining 4 games, Dallas does have an incredibly good defense. The Vikings have a good defense. So we're going to be facing it. And I'll even say this, Denver's defense is not bad by any stretch of the imagination. In my opinion, these last 4 games, we're going to have to win at least 2 to make the playoffs. 3 gets you the division. No small feat by any means. Maybe the Minnesota Vikings offense will fall apart, and maybe we can secure 2 of the 3 wins that way. But also means there's probably a ton of pressure on this Saturday's game. This Saturday's game, you win it, and those 2 against the Vikings, you're hosting a game at Ford Field, and I'm just going to talk on my thoughts here. I know we're all disappointed with yesterday's game, but I'm going to try to review this season as a cumulative effect, based on the totality of it all. If we end up being 12 and, whatever it's going to be 5, host a playoff game, and if somehow win that playoff game, to me, this season's a total success. Is it going to mean that we maybe missed some opportunities? Probably. But overall, I think as a fan base, if we go back to just 2.5 years ago where this franchise was and try to view it in that way, I think we're all going to be pretty happy with things. All right, Daryl, what do you got? Why don't Hutch stay in his gap? He gave up that touchdown run to Fields. Yeah, that's Hutch had some good plays yesterday. He was more aggressive than I think we've seen him in a while, but he had obviously the touchdown run you're talking about went against him in his lack of containment there, plus the big 4th down toss into the end zone, or down the field, I should say, and then ran into the end zone to DJ Moore. Was a result of Hutchinson jumping offside. So not his best day by any stretch of the imagination. I get it, Daryl. We're all probably frustrated with that. All right. Why is Jerry Jacobs covering the opposing team's number 1 receiver? Because we play so much zone coverage and teams for a while now. They're just motioning their number 1s over to his side. He's stuck with them. And the coach, you can only say this. The coaching staff must not believe there's anybody else on the team that can surpass what Jerry Jacobs does as the number 2 corner. I know they did try to mix and match things. I did watch begrudgingly. I did watch some of the review on the once the game was over yesterday. I did review some of the film and watch the game again. The Lions did some good things defensively that probably caught the Bears off guard. They did take out Tracy Walker, and I know this is something we talked about in the chat for the last few days about taking him out because his coverage abilities just aren't very good. He's good at some things. He's not good at coverage. So with that being said, sorry about that. Phone, let silence that so it doesn't keep going off. But anyways, if he got in there and played, and he played better in coverage, but if he also has weaknesses that the Bears exploited. So dive into that another time. I guess what I would say is this defense, they've got a lot of people out and it's showing. Other teams have figured out a lot of the weaknesses of the Detroit Lions. The defense, I thought, overall played better than probably I would have anticipated going into the game. But I know, you guys, Michael had the point to start the show. That offense, that performance was brutal. All right, Michael, what do you got? Hutch has done that a lot this season. Yeah, he has. His aggression to get to the quarterback has been used by mobile quarterbacks against him. Daryl, did you notice, Coach, the Bears linebackers were jumping Goff's mid-range throws? Yeah, I believe they know he can't throw the deep ball. Yeah, and Daryl, we've been chatting about that for a while. I know you, me, and everybody in the chat. The Bears, when we played them, whatever it was, the first game of the season, they clearly identified some tendencies. So if you watch just their linebackers, they're basically in spy coverage. They're using man-to-man over the top with their secondary and their safeties. All of them are locked up on somebody, and they're pretty good at it too. Now they're using the backers over the middle, and then sometimes the ends go out into the flats. They're able to get pressure to the quarterback for the most part with their front four, and they do a great job with it. That's one of the additions of Montez Sweat. That's how he's impacted that team a lot. I'm going to say this. Goff is to blame, but I think Ben Johnson is also to blame. You're going to, and it feels like we talk about this almost every show now, you're going to have to be less conservative unless you just have zero faith in Jared Goff to be able to hit some of those deep shots, which maybe that is the case. Maybe they don't believe he can do it. Maybe that's why they have to keep, calling these shorter intermediate routes. Well, that being said, if that really is the case, then just my opinion as a coach, you can't stick with Jared Goff. You're going to have to find a replacement sooner versus later because this trend won't go away. Everybody's going to keep repeating it. The Bears started, the Packers mimicked it. The Saints, I will say this, didn't stick with that formula so much, but the Saints are pretty good at just flat out man-to-man defense. They're not always the best at getting pressure, but their secondary can cover. And now you're back to the Bears. I'm going to imagine we're going to see a lot of the same Saturday night. They've got dudes who can cover. I haven't studied the Broncos a ton, so I don't know if they can get as much pressure, but this is, you want the term must-win game. It can't be used enough for Saturday night. The Lions, 1,000%, need to put all their chips on the table. Can't hold anything back, whatever. You need to go out there and you need to do everything you can to get that win. You get that win, and then the following week in Minnesota, everybody's going to feel a whole lot different because you're in the driver's seat still for the NFC North. All right, Jesse, what do you got? Grand Rising, same to you. I feel Ben Johnson is saving all of his good plays in the playbook for when he takes the head coaching job, so no one can figure him out. Who knows, man? Maybe. And if he is, then that's pretty not great of him. I would put it this way. I know somebody in the post-game show yesterday even said, man, Jared Goff's playing bad, so the Lions will trade him to wherever Ben Johnson goes. I don't think it's that, but, I mean, who knows, man? 5 years from now, they do some sort of documentary, and we got both Ben Johnson and Jared Goff in front of the cameras. Maybe they say something like that. But I do think this, whatever may have happened to Jared Goff with the contract breakdowns and whatever in his personal life a few weeks ago, he just hasn't really recovered. He looks better than he did the first time we played the Bears, but that ain't by much. I'm going to say this. Teams have figured out some of his strengths. He's emotionally rattled. I'm not going to say what's going to happen next season. I'm more focused on this season, but I'm going to say the competition at the quarterback spot's probably going to heat up this offseason in regards to the Detroit Lions. And I like Jared Goff. I really do. I hope he can regain form, I guess you could say, but he is showing more and more limitations in what he can do and what he can't do. All right, Andrew, one pass thrown Jamo's way, yeah. And again, I know somebody pointed out in the comment section yesterday, whenever he throws to Jameson Williams on the deep routes, they're underthrows, and that's got to change because you've got a huge weapon in Jameson Williams. I think it's time we start saying maybe it wasn't Jameson Williams. I get he wasn't great to start the year or even last year, but that kid has evolved. He has improved, and we've been talking about that for a while. I'm going to say this. If you're going to have a weapon like that, you've got to have somebody who can get him the ball. And let me tell you, man, Jared Goff, unless he changes these last 4 games, does not seem to be able to throw the ball far enough. I hate saying it. I'm not trying to come down on Goff. I'm just trying to be honest with what my eyes see about some of his limitations and what teams are doing because they don't feel like he can burn them consistently on those routes. And yeah, the deep ball is looking more and more like it's just something he's not great at throwing anymore for whatever reason. All right, Angie, I hope Ben Johnson gets a coaching job and takes Goff with him, and Aaron Glenn gets a coaching job and takes Jerry Jacobs with him. Both could be true. We'll have to wait to see this offseason, but that would be an interesting dynamic. Michael, what do you got? The pass to J-Mo was underthrown. It has been a problem all season. I would agree. Jesse, why is J-Mo on the team if they're not going to use him correctly? It is a fair question, ain't it? One target, the Goff couldn't even get to him. Yeah, it was underthrown, and I get it, guys. I get it. Everybody's frustrated right now. Let's make no mistakes about it. Nobody is happy unless you're just really in the draft and going, man, we just went from 28 to 22 or whatever in the draft. And I don't know that to be true. I'm guessing where we're drafting. JDC, good morning, all. Good morning to you. Hopefully you have a good one. Justin, what do you got? 4th and 10. Can we go for it? We not a reliable kicker. Yeah, the kicker situation, I think, 35 yards and in, which by NFL standards should be a chip shot. It should be pretty good, but man, extra points, not always looking so great. Not so easy. Michael, we got only if Goff could lead J-Mo. I think we're all going to be on this for a while. Goff needs to throw sooner and let J-Mo run the ball. Yeah, I think if Goff's going to stick around and be a deep ball thrower to Jameson Williams, he's got to just say, I got to chuck it as far as I can and let him run to the ball. He's trying to throw it where he has, and the problem is with someone like Jameson Williams or most NFL receivers, if you're throwing it deep, you got to throw it to where they're going, not to where they are. And he looks like he's throwing it to where they are. Hooker time. What do you got? Hooker 2024. It sounds like a campaign t-shirt, if you ask me. Maybe even get some sweatshirts made because you might be selling out pretty soon, man. Jesse, question. When is it time to panic? Because I feel like we're regressing at the time we should be progressing. I think the time's now. I think it's been for like the last month. I mean, you could say it probably all started with the Chargers game. Great win. I get it. But the Chargers also showed that problems with this team. And it's been every week since then, right? We've masked some of our deficiencies with victories. We have paid less attention to some of the problems that teams have been exploiting just because they haven't been winning. Well, now 2 out of your last 3 games, teams have beaten you, and the Bears have beaten you bad. The Bears a year ago, looked like they were, by season's end, not sure where they're going to go. And I don't know. I'm going to say this. I don't know where they're going to go in the draft. I think they should go for a quarterback. It's nothing against Justin Fields. I like the dude. I think his accuracy, though, is going to be a point of concern. Where he's very successful in the running game is not sustainable for any NFL quarterback. I don't care if you're Steve Young or, whoever else. You're going to take unnecessary hits that, unfortunately, are going to keep you on the sideline more often than not. I think the Bears, though, their defense is starting to look pretty decent. And if they get the quarterback situation with some other parts, they're going to be around for the foreseeable future in the NFC North. The Lions are going to have to figure some things out to help match that, though. All right, Michael, I'm beginning to think that way with Hooker. Yeah, me too. Brad Holmes, give him credit. I'm going to give him some discredit for some things. But the fact that last year in the draft, he drafted every spot on the board for the team. So quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end. I mean, you get the gist. You go through all the spots. Hooker probably is pretty good value. If he wasn't hurt, he would have been drafted. I think you can make the argument early second round, maybe late first round. The dude has some athleticism. He's got a cannon. The question I think is going to come down to what can he do in a pro-style offense. The Tennessee offense was very collegiate friendly, and those are the great unknowns. Like any quarterback, you could be whatever in college and not be great in the NFL level because the NFL defenses are vastly different. Now, I've talked about that enough the last few episodes. I won't bore you guys to death with it, but I will say this, that competition for the starting quarterback spot in Detroit next year, I don't know if it's going to be Goff, Teddy Bridgewater, if Bridgewater resigns, or Hendon Hooker, but I think it's going to be legit. Now, me being me, just me alone, just being a coach GM, I'm going to say this. Hendon Hooker is a lot more tantalizing to me than Jared Goff at this point for several reasons. One, the athleticism, ability to escape the pocket. 2, the cannon, the howitzer for an arm. He's going to be able to throw mathematically passes down the field that most guys can't throw, or at least some guys can't throw. The other part, and the big part, is what he's going to save you in salary cap. You're going to go from paying potentially, man, at this point with Jared Goff, I'm guessing, if you resign him, it's going to be somewhere between 35, 45 million a year versus a guy who costs you 1 million a year. That's going to probably get you 2 to 3 pretty good parts you could put maybe on defense. And if you could add a pass rush, maybe an interior defensive lineman and a cornerback, that defense will look vastly different. So something for you guys to chew on. Let me know your thoughts on it. But I'm not saying it's the end of times for Goff, but I'm saying the door is now open for discussion to other options if the Lions don't feel comfortable after the season with Jared Goff. All right, Mr. Nico, good morning, everyone. At the end of the game, they tore the jerseys off the rivals, so same old Lions shirts like the NWO, New World Order. Yeah, let's talk about the draft now because that's what we must look forward to. Yeah, I'm not going to give up on the season just yet, but draft talk probably does need to start happening a little bit. I mean, it's getting later in the year to begin with. Hey, man, Lions get half of the games remaining. They're going to be in the playoffs, whether they're hosting or not is going to be the question. So I'm not done with the team just yet. Bill, what do you got? It's the end of the world as we know it. Crazy salutations. It probably does feel that way, doesn't it? Hooker time. There's a lot of blame to go around. However, the man that makes the most money and wants to get paid $50 million is the biggest issue. Yeah, and I'd say at this point, $50 million ain't happening with the Lions or anybody else. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe a team will give it to them. I just don't think in Detroit there's any way you could justify it at this point. But who knows? Maybe Brad Holmes has a different opinion. Mr. Nico, let's take Hooker over Teddy. Yeah, I would say that. And wouldn't that be one heck of a Disney movie if all of a sudden Hendon Hooker becomes the number 2 quarterback, and then they put him into the lineup over Goff, and somehow he gets a playoff win for the Detroit Lions? I'll tell you this, man, in the offseason, those jerseys would be selling like hotcakes, like Mountain Dew in the morning at Circle K. Jessica, what do you got? Good morning, all. On to the next game. Time to stand up. Yeah, the last game's passed. It's nothing you can do to change it. Learn from it. But now all the focus is going to be on the remaining 4 games. If by some way you win these last 4 games, you have the NFC North. You are 13 and 4. That's a pretty good record that I would say would calm a lot of people down. But I'm going to hope that we get at least 2 out of the last 4. I'm going to be cautious. If we get 3 out of 4, man, I'm going to be real sorts of happy. All right, JDC, Magic 8 Ball says, ouch. That was a tough loss to the Lions. Yeah, might want to roll it again, see if we can get a better result. Michael, also MCDC, said he's not worried. I got to believe he is worried. The Lions are not handling the pressure. A whole lot different when you don't have the pressure on. You try to chase people like last year versus when you're in the top seed and everybody's gunning for you. It is a mental frame difference. So I can tell you that. And yeah, you got to learn how to handle that. All right, Stephanie, what do you got? Good morning, Coach and Duke Crew. Same to you. Brother Ken, Coach Dan, I said it before, and I'll say it again. Drafting Jack Campbell in the first round was a big mistake. The fact Jack Campbell hasn't done, Jack, it is what it is, man. You can't change it. I will say this: the rest of the draft seems like it's been pretty decent. Time will tell. After, I'd say, give him one more season, evaluate where all these guys are. Jamari Gibbs, I'm happy with. Yes, you could have had somebody else. I get it, but him. Laporta, those are pretty nice hits. Brian Branch looks like he's going to be pretty decent. If Jack Campbell can, come around the end of the year and then throughout next year keep progressing, you've got something there at least. It might not be the explosive player that we all kind of hope for, but hey, at this point, I'm just hoping for the best results and go from there. But I do get your point, Brother Ken. Hooker time. I've heard it said on here that 15 to 18 teams would love to have Goff, then trade him after the season. It might be a fair point, man. What could you get from him at this point? Because his play, let's be fair, has gone down exponentially. And whether it's from Ben Johnson or just flat out Goff or a combination of both, that let's leave for another time to debate. But what could you get from him now? That's a big question. And I don't think it would be probably worth trading him at this point because, if you do feel like there's a good competition between him and Hooker next year, I'm going to say this. Probably get Hooker as many reps in OTAs and then obviously the preseason games. At that point, if you feel like, hey, maybe we need to give a couple games to Goff to start the year, and then based on that performance plus what we're seeing in practice, maybe then they do the Alex Smith versus Patrick Mahomes thing where, hey, 3 or 4 games in, you make the switch and go from there. I don't know, but I don't think we'll be getting rid of Goff in the offseason. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we can get, something for him. But the value is probably definitely going down. Brittany, what do you got? The sky is looking like it might fall. Yeah, there's a lot of panic in Lions country, isn't there, right now? And we all get it. They're not performing well. The pressure of missing the playoffs or losing the NFC North is valid. It's there. We're all going to have to deal with it for the last 4 games. And I'm going to say, like I said a few minutes ago, I want 2 wins out of these last 4. That will get us in the playoffs. 3 wins get you the North. So I'm rooting that on. Why are the defense playing a base with Bugs and Jones? That's down to Aaron Glenn's call. I will say this. I thought they are getting more creative on defense, and they caused some problems with the Bears. But at some point, the offense has got to score. It's going to be tough to win games if you only score 13 points. Yesterday was obviously not a stellar performance for the defense at times, and the offense basically the entire game. Maven should be starting. Yeah, he's making a strong point yesterday against the Saints, ain't he? The dude makes plays, and the dude moves like he's a missile, man. He's out there trying to destroy people. So I give him a lot of credit, man. He's had a heck of an NFL career, and he's still performing. Jesse, are we comfortable giving Goff $50 million a year? I know I am not. No, I don't. I think so. You guys heard me talk about it, whatever it was, 3-4 weeks ago, whenever this, downside with Goff started. Brad Holmes cut off the contract negotiations. I reported that to you guys. And since then, Goff's play has gone down. I do think there are some emotional components to his play. But that being said, Goff has played his way out of any kind of conversation. I'm going to guess for 40 or 50 million a year. He'll be playing on an NFL team next year, whether it's Detroit or somebody else. It's just, is he going to get paid that kind of money? Probably not. All right, Suzanne, what do you got? Greetings and salutations. Really going to be cheering on New York tonight. Yeah, I think it would have helped a lot if the Vikings would have lost yesterday. Unfortunately, the Raiders couldn't score even a field goal. And if somehow the Packers, to be honest, the Packers are the ones that really worry me. We get to play the Vikings, so we get to control our own fate against them. Packers, we don't. So if New York can do us a solid and win tonight, and then I think Minnesota and Green Bay play, I don't know if it's next week or the week after, something like that. If Minnesota could win that game, that would be huge. And then we just have to take care of Minnesota. I shouldn't say just take care of Minnesota, but we could control our own fate. Phil, what do you got? The team is dead. Long live the team. All right. Well, let's hope they recover. Well, I'll let you know if there's any change in their condition, but hopefully, yeah, we recover. Don Con, I called this loss all week. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I hear you, man. It's it wasn't a great day for the Lions. I guess we could all agree on that. Hooker time, best decision general manager General Brad ever made was stopping negotiations with Goff. Yeah, he saw something there, and obviously they watch more tape than any of us. Plus, they see practices. They saw something enough for him to say, yeah, at this point we're gonna kind of wait on these conversations. All right, Brother Ken, I'm like Jim Mora. Playoffs? Did you say playoffs? We'll be lucky if we can get another win. A buddy of mine texts me all the time during games. And start of the game, Super Bowl, he does it to kind of mock me because he's kind of anti-Lions. And, yeah, he was like, man, what you going to do with that number, 15 overall draft pick? He is a firm believer that the Lions will not win another game. I, on the other hand, I'm hoping for 2 or 3 more wins. All right, Lone Wolf, why is Ben Johnson not getting the ball to J-Mo? It's a good question. It's a real good question, and one that probably only Goff and Ben Johnson can answer at this point. All right, what do you got? I don't think the offense matches up against any defense in the division. No, it's almost like one could debate. The other teams in the division said, all right, how are we going to shut down the Detroit Lions? They've come up with a blueprint, and they have built their defenses accordingly. So they're aware that the Lions this year were going to be a powerhouse team. They have been for the most part, but they're also aware that in the division, they know if they want success, they got to stop Detroit. So Detroit in the offseason is going to have to figure out some counter punches to that. 18th, yep. All right. Good, Garland. Good morning. Good morning to you too. Phil, good greetings and salutations. My dew is empty this morning. Yeah, I'm gonna need one for sure because, like I said, the heat's out here, and yeah, I'll be looking forward to getting to the K a little bit today. All right, JDC, Donkey Kong. Yep, you can. We're right about that. Can't win them all, but we know we can't lose them all. Let's hope not. All right, brother Ken, can't blame the defense this time. No, I think they were they elite. No, but did they play good enough for us to win? Absolutely. You know, that doesn't mean they didn't make mistakes, but the offense I thought was the big thing. All right, Trump, fire AG, maybe fire Goff. Come on, keep it coming, man. Fire Ben Johnson, fire everybody. Donkey Kong, yeah, we kind of stink as a team. Yeah, I agree. We're not playing well right now. Still loyal, disappointed. Mile marker. Still have hope. One pride. Yeah, I'm not giving up yet. No, I'll give up after the last game of the season. Dennis, dang Lions. Yes, I agree. Alec, easily the worst game planning by Ben Johnson. Getting away from the run when it was working was beyond me. The key to this game was keeping Justin Fields off the field by slowing the game down. Also, fair points. Man, I just we've talked about it. It seems like endlessly on the show that you got to loosen up some of the defenses. You got to take some deep shots earlier in the games to try to force them out of their coverages, and we just don't do it. So I can't answer it. The only people that can answer are Ben Johnson, MC, DC, or I guess Jared Goff. Are you not calling any opportunities for him to throw it long to change defensive structures and schemes? That's a good one that, again, only they can answer. One funky morning all. Yikes. Yeah. Good morning to you too. Donnie Burr, what do you got? I tried, but I'm out on Goff, underthrowing, fumbling, interceptions, galore, no mobility. It's pathetic. Yeah. I think Goff is in a tough spot at this point. And, just a month or two ago, we're all talking about maybe he should get 5 years. But I'm going to say this, Brad Holmes. We can all debate the Jack Campbell pick or maybe even some of the defensive line picks. But the fact that he ended those contract negotiations a month ago, he was ahead of the curve, wasn't he? Dennis, fire Glenn. That could actually happen this offseason. One funky, the wind is not Goff's friend. No, it is not. Don Burr, I put this more on Goff than Glenn. I'd go with that this game. Yeah, I would agree. Donkey Kong. Hooker. Yes, I think you're going to see a growing set of calls for that. And like I said, man, it would be the most Disney movie finish ever if he ends up coming in, maybe against the Minnesota Vikings or Cowboys, ends up pulling off some miraculous win and takes us in the postseason to get some victories. He would be a fixture here for sure. All right, Trump, what do you got? Statue? Yes. Goff is a sitting duck back there. Don Burr, one funky is it wind in Ford Field? Not much at all. Maybe a light dusting of breeze. Down Lions will not win the division. I am worried about it, and I think it's legit. I mentioned it on the show a couple games ago when the Packers won. I was really concerned about them because their schedule going the rest of the year looks pretty favorable for them. All right, Phil, what do you got? Lions aren't winning another game this year. Well, that is a Mountain Dew is half empty approach, but I still am holding out hope. Don Burr, we can't stop the Hooker nonsense till next year. Probably not going anywhere. No, it's not. One funky, the defense lived on the field. Yes, it did. Moonscar, what do you got? Play calling was terrible. Coming out of halftime, momentum on your side, and they should have reestablished the run off the bat. Yeah, they the third quarter play calling, I'll say this. You talk about getting conservative. They get super conservative, and I don't get it, man. It's been like that all season. Matt, what do you got? There's no world where the Lions beat the Broncos. Broncos are too well coached and too well disciplined. And that's the one thing that I would say this season that's really been coming into the season, and then what we've seen this season, the amount of penalties, the lack of discipline. I think, Matt, you're pretty on to it, that a lot of our issues are self-inflicted, and they were going to have to fix that. All right. Don Kong, yeah. Definitely losing to Denver. I'm hoping not, but you guys could be right. JP, what do you got? This is self-inflicted. That's what bothers me. They have to stop it. Yeah. The penalties, the turnovers, yeah. These are all preventable, and unfortunately, we're not preventing them. All right, Frank, they are not improving. Bad play and coaching. Yeah, they seem to become very stagnant, and I think the argument could be made that we're even regressing. Lone Wolf, this Saturday's game is a must-win, and I don't see that win happening. Broncos completely shut down the Chargers. Yes, they did, and their D, like I said, they're not bad. All right, Ed, what do you got? Good morning, Coach. After 65 years of watched Lions, I've seen this before. Sorry, Coach, but I'm so disgusted with this team this year. I bought in. I should have known better. There's probably a lot of that going on this morning, ain't there, Ed? Where, man, I mean, we've seen it before. Like you said, we've seen it in our lifetimes where team does something, they get your hopes up, and then they pull the Lucy ripping the football away from Charlie Brown. And that's what it's starting to feel like more and more. All right, Shaw, what do you got? People hate it, but we need another volume receiver in the draft. I was talking with I mentioned in the post-game show yesterday, I mentioned it about a month ago. One of the problems I was seeing with our offense is when teams do go man, we are not successful nearly at the same rate as when they play a zone. A lot of our guys, and I know I'm going to take some flack for saying this, St. Brown is a real good receiver. He struggles when covered in man by other teams' number one cornerback, assuming that's not the Detroit Lions' number one cornerback. Laporta's fine, but you could see his ability to get open goes down a little bit. He relies a little bit more on his size at that point. And when it comes to Josh Reynolds and some of the other guys, there's no real game changer receiver like a Justin Jefferson or something like that, or an Allen or whatever that just is going to do well man or zone. I'll take heat for it. I mentioned it like I said, a month ago or so. That's what my eyes were seeing on the game film when we were watching it more and more. Jameson Williams might be an answer to some degree, but you got to have somebody who can get him the ball. And that's another part of the problem that we've kind of already covered this morning. Anthony, who's to blame for JMO less targets, Ben or Goff? Probably both. I mean, yeah, Goff's probably your biggest threat at receiver as far as explosion plays, and you're going to have to find a way to get him the ball more because teams are taking away your primary options. All right, Trump, Jacob is trash, yes. And I'm not going to come down to him as an individual because he shouldn't be the number 2 corner, but just out of attrition, he's had to be. All right, Jerome, what do you got? Good morning, Coach. After the loss, your encouraging words does help soften the blows. Thanks. No worries, man. I mean, I'm an optimist by nature. I'm also aggressive as a coach, as you guys know. So I'm going to go out there and say, hey, we're going to get this win Saturday, and then we're going to try to get 2 of the wins. We're going to get 2 wins against Minnesota. Down defense didn't look bad. They were put in vulnerable situations, like always fumbling, turnovers, and bad play calling by Ben Johnson. Yeah, Ben Johnson, I think, is also hurting his stock a little bit. Maybe all the other coaches in the league will say, hey, it was just Goff or something, but I think some of his past concepts especially have become very predictable this year. All right, just going to be cutting this one off a little bit early today because, like I said, the heat's out today, and I got to get that taken care of. Trump's genius, I turned it off, the game. Yeah, I got to imagine there's a lot of people did. One funky. Don, no, but Goff's weak arm really shows it outdoors, though, when there was a little wind. I've never been a Goff guy, and was the first to call him our Alex Smith. Yeah, he might be on his way out sooner than any of us would have guessed just a month or so ago. Michael, so AG has to Goff first half, great second half, and doesn't play the guys that were winning. That's probably true. Phil, why was your name coming up everywhere, Don Burr? Don Burr is infamous, and he is famous. He is the legend. 9 Drinks, good morning, Duke Crew. Good morning to you, 9 Drinks. Hopefully you're having a good one. Yesterday was a tough sale. Second of a road back-to-back against a team coming off a bye. There's a lot of truth to that. Yeah, the Bears had a little extra time to prepare. They're a little bit fresher, healthier, a lot of factors. But you know what? End of the day, you just got to get that win, and unfortunately, we did not. One funky, it was nice to see Hutch have a good quarter, though. He did. I mean, I thought he played more assertive and aggressive yesterday, but he made some uncharacteristic mistakes yesterday as well. So he kind of balanced out his good with his bad. Trump, what do you got? Did Goff throw past 20 yards all game? Not that I can think of. Somebody well, wait a minute. There was one late in the game. I want to say he hit Josh Reynolds for like 27 yards or something like that. Michael Jordan, Goff is losing his starting spot in more. Yeah, I'd say, yeah, he's starting to get on some thin ice there. Trump's genius played Teddy already. They might be talking about that. Don Burr, if Goff gets an extension, I will lose a lot of faith in Brad Holmes. Motor City Mania, only guy who loves the dude. I'll say this. I think Brad Holmes revealed himself and his thinking when he stopped the contract negotiation talks some time ago. All right, one funky. I saw people blaming J-Mo for that underthrown deep shot. Yeah, Goff slappies are horrible. No, that you're right. That's just a flat out. If he throws it where he's leading Jameson Williams, that's a touchdown, and that's part of the problem. Teams aren't worried about us throwing deep to Jameson Williams or anybody else. Just check out the back end of the coverage. They're all overplaying the short intermediate stuff, and they have been for over a month now. Why? Because the lines aren't throwing them out of it. Whether it's on Goff, Ben Johnson, my mom, I don't know. We have to debate that, but I can only tell you what I see doing reviews. And yeah, there is nobody worried about us throwing deep. All right, Chronicles of LD, what do you got? I'm going to say it. I feel this defense went downhill since that Ravens game. Probably a lot of correct truth to that. All right, Don Bird, Jameson just shook his head. Goff, 9 turnovers in 4 games. Yes, he has become the L.A. Goff. One funky, I feel bad for Ben knowing your quarterback is a weak arm really shrinks your playbook. There's a lot of truth to that. If you know you can't dial up some things because you can't get the ball there, even if I do dial it up, what's the point? All right, Michael Jordan, we ran the ball great. Then third hits, and they go away from it, and Goff sucked it up. Yep, he did. Eduardo yesterday just showed me everything I need to know about this team and coaching staff. Yeah, there's blame to go everywhere with this team after yesterday's performance. Don Burr, everything is so routine with Goff, St. Brown, Laporta, across the middle. Yeah, and people are overplaying it. That's what we've been chatting about. Brian, what do you got? I watched other QBs throw deep balls yesterday and hit the receivers in stride. Almost all of JMO's deep routes are underthrown. You said this just as I was writing. Great minds think alike, right? All right, Michael. Wow, what happened to the Lions? They got exposed. They've been figured out. Teams have we've masked some of the fact that teams have figured us out by pulling out last second wins for whatever it has been 6 weeks now. But now some of those close wins have become close losses. Although yesterday's game wasn't close, so there lies the problem. Victory kind of masked the problems at hand, and either the coaching staff hasn't addressed it, or maybe they just can't. Maybe just, hey, this is what we can do with the players we have. Scott, what do you got? Preseason prognostication said the Lions to win the North and win 11 to 13 games. Don't get me wrong. This game took years off my life, but we'd be happy with 9 wins after 14 preseason. But yes, and that's what I'm saying, man. If we can get 2 more wins out of the last 4, hey, 11 wins, you've got a legit shot at still winning the North. 12 wins, obviously you do. So it's got to all begin Saturday, though. You get that win, that would be exponentially huge for this team. All right, Ryan, I know I hate to believe it because I'm a Goff guy. Dang, yeah. And I think like everybody, man, you want to believe that the guy you got can take you long term, because then you can use draft capital or whatever funds somewhere else. The other part of it, though, and I talked about it with everybody in the post-game show yesterday, is I'm trying to change my mind frame, because you can't. One of the worst things you can do as a coach or a general manager is just say, this is the plan. We're going to stick with it, regardless of what the evidence says, because that means you're just blind to a belief then. Here's what I'm going to say. Maybe Jared Goff isn't the guy. Maybe he does right the ship and he is the guy. But let's assume for right now, we're going to look at 2, maybe 3 options next offseason for quarterback. Jared Goff finishes, beyond great this year. This was just a rough 4-game stretch. All right, fine. Do it again next year. We got 1 more year with you. At the end of that year, or maybe during the year, then we were forced to re-sign you. We can't let you go. That doesn't happen, though. Maybe Hendon Hooker, we look in the OTAs preseason, or maybe even in live games next year, and we say, you know what? That's the dude. We've got him for, at that point, 2 more seasons beyond 2024. And we now have a boatload more money to spend on the defense or offense or whatever you're going to spend it on, I guess, the team. How much better is the team? Because you've got a quarterback on a rookie contract where now you're saving, whatever, 40-some million a year going with that guy, because I can take that money and buy probably 3 legit good players to help out. And if it was me, I'd be spending all on defense. Pass rush, secondary, a draft. I'm probably focusing on interior offensive line, defensive line, and secondary. That's if you hit on those picks, which is always the tough part, that's probably going to be a pretty good team. All right, what do you got? Don, nobody hiring Aaron Glenn? Probably not at this point. Don Kong, it was an expected loss, exclamation point. Actually, more than one. In the cold, windy, gaining a running quarterback against a running quarterback. Lions will lose that game 10 out of 10. Yeah, they're going to have to do some things to address mobile quarterbacks in the offseason. Michael Jordan, Goff has ever had a cannon. Yeah, he never has. Yeah, he doesn't have that arm. Wardo, Chicago was literally daring us to throw deep. Yeah, and again, watch replays of the last month or so. It's not just Chicago, it's everybody. They are playing underneath coverage, overplaying the out routes and the flats, and the deep shots are there left and right. We're just not taking them. Whether that's all on Goff, Ben Johnson, I'll let you guys debate. Mitt Lady, good morning, Coach. I won't say much while I am emotional. I look forward to next week. Saturday, hey, that's the good thing about playing Saturday night. It's here a little bit sooner. So hopefully you're having a good one, though. Eduardo, and then we get DC making questionable calls to lose us the game. It's a combination, man. When people feel pressure, they do things they normally wouldn't, and that's why I've been saying about getting pressure and heat on other quarterbacks. So, all right, Michael, it seems like the same game plan in all 4 losses. There are a ton of similarities, aren't there? All right, Jay Breeze, what do you got? From what I'm seeing, the Cowboys and Niners are the best teams in the NFC. Philadelphia's defense looks as bad as ours. Philadelphia's, somebody's found a couple things schematically to do to their offense that have exposed them. Their defense has been, to your point, Jay, it's not been great all season. It's been doing enough to help out, but the offense has carried a lot of the workload. So now that that's been figured out, you're going to see more and more teams copy what the Cowboys, the 49ers have exposed with the Philadelphia Eagles. But that's also the nature of the game. Somebody figured out, the Bears figured out something with the Lions, and you're watching every team outside the Saints mimic it. Chronicles of LD, Goff hasn't been throwing the ball clean either. No, he hasn't. He's not been great as of late. Trump's genius, Goff is not the future. Probably it's looking more and more like you are correct, sir. All right. Our listening to DC when talking about Hooker, he said the ball jumped off his hands. Well, it's a difference when you have a cannon for an arm and when you got an adequate arm. I mean, there's been a lot of NFL quarterbacks that don't have cannons. I want to be clear about that. The problem with Goff is he's lost faith. He's lost confidence. He doesn't have a cannon, and there is now a delay from what his mind processes to what his body throws. And in a game of inches and seconds or even split seconds, you can't have that, man. All right, Justin, I will say I can't wait to see AG go. Dude can probably be a great position coach, but he isn't good enough to be in charge of a whole D. Wish we would get Wilkes when he exited the Panthers last year. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they do next this offseason with a couple of the coaches. and players. But I still want to focus on this season because, again, to me, I still think we got a chance at a playoff game, maybe even the North. Eduardo, at this point, that loss wasn't even on the defense. Yes, Hutchinson made a bonehead decision, but the offense is why we lost. I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree. Don, who has Kiro sending Sewell in sending him in motion and left side to help out on blocking. I'd Decker losing a way back step. Yeah. And you got a point with Decker. I don't think he's bad, but I don't think he's starting to show some signs of regression. He's starting to get beat more and more on outside rush moves where he used to. I mean, I'm never going to say he was an elite left tackle, but he is starting to show some chinks in his armor. But, I'm going to wait for another time to do an off-season video. All right, Trump, what do you got? Goff throws ducks? Yes, duck, quack, quack. Wardo, I don't even think we can beat Minnesota. Their defense is a lot better than Chicago's. Yeah, we beat Minnesota because hopefully our offense gets going. But we'll see. I mean, they're struggling right now. Obviously, they only scored 3 points. Apparently, it was only the only 3 points they needed yesterday. That really kind of surprised me. Jay, what do you got? I don't know if Goff has an arm strength. Reminds me of Alex Smith. There's a ton of similarities. One funky, people say that Goff has a lot of 20-yard pass plays and think he did that with his arm, but failed to comprehend that if Goff throws a 3-yard slant and goes for 25, that counts towards that stat. You're right. It does. Oh, boy. Here we go. Iceberg. Look at you. Bears, Kings. Yes. Thumbs up. Yeah. I got to imagine you were a little happy with yesterday's results. I was wondering if you were going to be hopping on today, man. Ryan, team played stressed and exhausted. Seems negative media or bugs issues have taken over the locker room. Could be truth to all that. Teams played stressed. Okay, we got that one. Nonberg, Minnesota won 3-0 last night. Definitely can beat Minnesota. I would agree. Eduardo, the biggest issue with DC is after every loss, he goes, I didn't have them ready. We'll learn from this, and yet we continue to lose the same way. It's just coach speak. And it's just, hey, it's not your fault, it's my fault. That's just coach speak. So, I'm not worried about it, man. That's just what he says. One funky Jay Breeze, I've been saying that for 3 years. I agree. Eduardo, all I'm going to say is that any and all criticism of this team is well deserved. You don't want the hate, show up. Yeah, they have not played well. And it really kind of shows that Andre Ware, yeah, that's a good point. This team, when it's fully healthy, can compete with, I think, most teams. But it's also so reliant on having all those pieces out there. I get every team is different when you have guys out, but I'm also say probably more than most other teams. Our team, you get the wrong guys out. If that offensive line isn't at its best, Goff gets exposed. The offense slows down, shuts down. As far as the defense, I mean, a lot of it, I still will say this, lack of pass rush. We can bemoan what didn't happen in the draft or at the trade deadline, but this defense would have been a lot different if we had gotten some additional parts for pass rushing. All right, Don, what do you got? Telling you now, you put Jerry Jacobs on Sutton yesterday. He's getting torched. I mean, Jerry Jacobs, I think we all get it. Apparently he's the best guy on the field opposite Sutton, and that's really saying something. But without being a coach on the field or seeing him in practice, I'm at least going to say it's a damning statement about the rest of the roster because Jerry Jacobs just continues to get picked on by every offense. All right, Michael, did you hear Tom Brady wants to play again? I did not, but if he does, he's probably not coming to Detroit. Yesterday, Chicago looked like the 9-win team. They did, man. All right, Michael, as soon as they got Sweat Bears defense started finding quarterbacks and everything turned around. Yeah, and amazing what happens to a defense when you can pressure the other team's quarterback. One team, to your point, Sweat got there and their defense has completely changed. Ours, you think about what might have been, and that's the bad part. All right, guys, I do have to cut out a little early today, unfortunately, just because I do got to go get this heat thing taken care of. as much as I love the cold, I don't love living in a house that's cold. So I'm gonna say this. I'll if there's some breaking news or whatever later today, I'll get it out there as fast as I can. It's not an overly taxing day with either coaching or a regular job today. So I'll try to help out. But if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. Trying to make that push for 4,800. We're about 40 some subs away. So if you can help out with that, that would be great. Hopefully you have all a great day. Hit that thumbs up button, and we'll see you on the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody.